Hey everyone, and welcome to the Signal Special Report. We are your hosts, Nicky D. Cannon, producer extraordinaire and flannel fan, sporting it today. And I'm Seth, the Mad Dog, your competitive correspondent. Nicky D, why are we here today?
We are here checking out, giving a little bit of review for one of my favorite Warhammer 40K factions, and that is the Necrons. Seth, you and I are both excited because you and I are both Necron players, or at least we both have Necron collections.
I have a Necron army. I actually haven't put it on the table until this, but I have a Necron army.
There you go. That's close enough, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So as we get started here, we'll give everybody kind of a heads up. And as this video releases, it's going to be coming out on Saturday, November 25th, when pre-order comes out. So make sure that you go and order or pre-order both the Codex and the new characters. We're going to be talking about the new characters.
I think you'll quite like them.
Yeah, I think so. Well, there's two of them that are new models and one of them that is a new character, but make sure to get the new character, make sure to get the new characters and then the new Codex when that comes out. Order through Signal or through Frontline Gaming. You can see that we've got the link there on the screen. Check that out and make sure that you get that when it comes around. But Seth, we've got a lot that we're going to try to cover because, oh boy, this Codex has a lot of updates.
So what's all in it, Nicky D?
Well, so with covering this Codex, there's a couple of new things for us. With Tyranids and Space Marines, there were 6 detachments total. Guys, this one has
7
5.
for Space Marines.
Oh, 7 for Space Marines, yeah.
Yeah, I think they took the extra detachments from other people.
I hadn't thought about it, but that might have been it. So yeah, there are 5 detachments. One of them is actually the same detachment we had from the Index with some slight name changes, but basically the same. So we've got 5 total detachments, 1 brand new character, a couple of characters that are appearing for the first time in plastic. I think that's got us covered, Seth.
Yeah. So besides detachments, what else has changed in this Codex?
Well, aside from that, there are some things that are removed.
Okay.
So really just characters. And this one, if we followed along with what happened with the Space Marines Codex, probably shouldn't be too much of a surprise. What we did see was some alignment with character or different type of character sheets that were pretty close, and then we saw a lot of the resin or fine cast models removed. So what this means for the Necrons Codex is that previously we had overlords and we had lords.
Okay.
Now, just overlords. No,
I'm sure Necron fans out there are upset, but for the guy that's new to Necrons, makes my life simpler.
Yes, I think so. I think so too. So just overlords now. So that reduces a data sheet and some data and some war gear options that are there, but pretty straightforward. And then the other thing is that almost all of the resin or fine cast characters have now been removed. Again, we do have 2. The Stormlord, Imhotep the Stormlord, and Orican the Diviner, which we'll talk about later, that come with new plastic models. But aside from that, I think we've got just 1 model in resin that remains.
All right. Well, I mean, that's been a line. The fine cast line in general has been phased out a lot across a lot of different codexes, so not surprised to see that.
Nope.
Any other significant changes to the data sheets?
Oh, we got a lot of them. And folks, because this is a Codex Cliff Notes version, we're going to try to keep this one, short for the purposes of this. So this is a short description of it. As you get more information, you'll be able to go and check out the full review. But if you're
if you're looking for full reviews, go check out our affiliates, Tabletop Titans, Vanguard Tactics, Grim After Dark. They're all Play on Tabletop. They're all going to have full reviews of the Codex. Go check those guys out. Get the full deep dive. We're here to give you the high-level knowledge.
Yeah, so with that, Seth, I'm not going to touch on but I am going to touch on a couple of key changes that will impact how the army plays. And the big one that we have to talk about is the change for the Resurrection Orb. So the Resurrection Orb would previously be held by an Overlord or Lord. Now we know it's just an Overlord, right? And that would allow a unit to reanimate in the opponent's command phase. So you're basically getting twice the amount of reanimation as a army rule for the Necrons. It no longer activates in your opponent's command phase. Now what it is, it's a once per battle ability. It allows a unit to reanimate up to D6 wounds at the end of any phase. So still powerful. Powerful, right? Still
very good. It's still kind of a stopgap if you need models now because something else is about to happen and you've survived most of the damage and you need to revive. It's a good option.
Yep. So that's a big change. The other one that I'll make sure to cover for us is the Technomancer.
Okay.
So this was one where he was typically the guy that would give the 5-up feel no pain. He still has that rule, folks. However, he did have a different war gear option that allowed him to give Canoptek units a +1 to hit. That warrior option is gone. So now he is just with the 5-up feel no pain and with the fly. But more importantly is his change to what units he can lead. So he can still lead warriors and immortals. He can no longer lead Lich Guard.
That was a pretty beefy unit that he was leading before.
Yes, but he can no longer lead the Lich Guard, but he can lead a new unit, and this one is kind of exciting. He can now lead Canoptek Wraiths. So the little kind of spider.
Yeah, I do like Wraiths. I have
tails.
a lot of those. I like that.
I do. They're on my paint table right now, folks. So I'm really excited for that. Again, we're just trying to hit some of the highlights here. So for characters, those are really the big changes, except for one other thing. Seth, let's talk about the Satan.
Okay.
They all now include on their data sheet a 5-up feel no pain.
I'm fairly certain there was a build where a Satan had a 4-up feel no pain, and it was just super annoying to kill to begin with.
Yes.
So now they all just have a 5-up?
They all have a 5-up feel no pain.
I'm going to go buy a Void Dragon. I'll be right back.
They all have a 5-up feel no pain, and that is still with the damage reduction ability that they have. Yeah. Now, the Transcendent Satan that could take the enhancement, that specifically can no longer take enhancements, but a built-in 5-up feel no pain. I mean, still pretty good. They are paying attacks -1 movement. So, but right. I think Necron players will take that trade-off. But I think that kind of covers us for the characters. Do we want to jump into some changes for the units?
Let's jump into some detachments because we've got a lot to cover. So detachments. What's going on? We've got 4 new ones, but Awakened Dynasty was the one from the Codex.
Not much of a change here, and this is the like we've seen with Space Marines and like we've seen with Tyranids. There are changes. These are the generalist detachments. That really kind of stays the same detachment rule. Really, the only things that I can say about this is that there are some changes to the name of one of the enhancements, but that's really about it. Nothing really that's different. Good detachment, strong detachment. I think it's still going to see play.
Yeah, it still has some good enhancements. The Phasal Subjugator is the +1 to hit aura now. It still has Veil of Darkness, which is the teleport enhancement. It still has a stratagem to revive a character when a character is killed, which is super annoying. When you put all your firepower into a unit and you kill it and you kill the character, and the character gets back up and still holds the objective. So still super durable. But now we have some other options. The next one up is the Annihilation Legion. Tell us about that one.
Yeah, so this is one I think people are going to be really... I think there's a lot of Necron fans who are really excited and have been dying to see this type of detachment. It is a detachment that focuses almost exclusively, folks, on Destroyer Cult units and Flayed ones. So the detachment bonus is the Annihilation Protocol, just really straightforward. Destroyer Cult and Flayed 1 units, they can reroll charges, and they also get a +1 to their charge roll if their target unit is below half strength. Pretty straightforward for this. All of the enhancements are for... are really tied into the fight phase. There's some different ways to manipulate the fight phase that are going to be pretty strong. And then all of the stratagems are for Destroyer Cult or Flayed 1 units only. So you've got a couple different units for Destroyer Cults. Flayed ones are obviously just the Flayed ones. So there's some strong items that are in here. My, I guess, concern for it is just there's not a lot of targets for the tools that you're going to get. But I still think it's going to be popular. It's still going to help you get there into the fight phase, which is where a lot of those Destroyer units want to be.
Yeah, and so the enhancements I pulled out for this one was the Soulless Reaper. Prevents enemies from falling back on a 3+, which is really strong. So you want to tag as many enemies as possible. So you combo that with the stratagem Pitless Hunter, which gives a unit 6-inch pile-in or consolidates.
Yeah, so there were in prior editions a number of different ways in which units could tag or keep unit locked in combat. That's pretty limited in 10th edition.
It is.
So it going off on a 3+, I'm sure people would like it to be more automatic, but that's still a really strong ability for this edition.
Yeah, and you can always combo charge. You can have one big unit of Scorptek and a unit of something else, go in. The something else kills the original target. You pop the 6-inch pile and consolidate on the Scorp Tech, and they basically can move as long as they can end with an engagement. They can get basically another 6-inch, 12 inches of movement, and really tag a lot of targets, and then make it really difficult to get away and really force your opponent to try to get lucky on those 1s and 2s.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic.
All right. Canoptek Court.
Yeah, and Seth, this one might be my favorite, or it might be the detachment that I start with. Really, all of the elements for this detachment are going to give bonuses for Canoptek units or Cryptek units. So a unit where a Cryptek leader is attached to that unit. The way that this detachment works is really pretty simple. It has a power matrix bonus. If you know Chaos Demons and how their bonus works, right, with the warp, it's very similar. So your deployment zone is always a power matrix. No Man's Land and your opponent's deployment zone are also in the power matrix if you control half or more of the objectives at the start of the phase. Now, what you get to do is if you're in that power matrix, or if you're in a power matrix, you get the Canoptek and Cryptek units are going to get reroll 1s to hit. If you're in the power matrix, you're rerolling hits. So pretty powerful ability to boost up their damage output. I like it.
Yep. Very solid attachment. I've had the pleasure to play around with this one. Enhancements are kind of The main one is there is a Dimensional Sanctum, which gives a unit infiltrate, so you can kind of have a forward unit. The big one is the Cyanoshire Eradication, which gives a unit dev wounds, which combos really well with something like a Tesla Immortal Squad with an attached Cryptek, so they have the reroll 1s to hit and 1s to wound, or if the area that they're targeting is in the power matrix, reroll full hit and wound, and those I think it's the Psychomancer gives 5s to a critical hit. Plasmancer, sorry. So you can end up with a lot of bullets coming out of one of those units and doing a lot of dev wounds on a relatively cheap combination there with just a simple stratagem. So definitely something to keep an eye out for. Definitely going to get some folks some bad times with those Necrons just tearing you apart at a molecular level.
Yep.
Up next, I want to say it's the Obedient Phalanx, but it's not. It's Obeisance. Obeisance, whatever.
We know how to say phalanx. We
know how to say phalanx.
So this detachment is going to be pretty straightforward. It's really focusing on benefits for your nobles and Triarch units. So, so for your nobles, overlords, your Lich Guard, Triarch units. So this will be the Triarch Praetorians and the Triarch Stalker too. So you got some great things in here for it. Basically each command phase, you're picking a unit, and those units are going to get +1 to wound against that unit. So pretty cool. Getting pluses to wound, especially in this edition, against vehicles or monsters, getting that kind of bonus is huge.
Yep. And a lot of the enhancements are built around making a character even beefier. So one of them is called Eternal Conquerors, just gives the character reroll to hit. So a solid way to ensure it hits. A lot of Necron characters don't have a large volume of attacks, so having that assurance of getting those attacks to hit at least helps. Stratagem wise, they had actually some for vehicles, which I was interested in, because they have a -1 damage stratagem for vehicles called Nano Assembly Protocols, which I was kind of surprised to see with the emphasis on Praetorians and Lich Guard and Overlords, but there are some Triarch Sarkis, so that might make sense. And then they have Suffer Not the Rivals, which is precision and melee for Triarch units and Lich Guard, which is really strong for the Lich Guard, because if you run into them and they're pretty decent in combat, and then all of those attacks have precision, they can certainly snipe some characters out really quick. So definitely something to keep an eye on if you're relying on a lot of characters to buff up your units.
Yep. I think this one's good. Sort of like some of the other detachments, my question is, like, are there enough of these units around the table where you're going to get the benefits of the stratagems? But the stratagems, though, and the enhancements, they are strong. So when they come into effect, they're going to hit hard. I do like that.
Our last one, and we can definitely pronounce this one, Hypercrypt Legion.
All right. So, Seth, I had mentioned earlier that the Canoptek court was probably in contention for the one that I may like to run with. Hypercrypt Legion, we did see this previewed on Warhammer Community, and this one immediately got folks excited. If you have played against Index Grey Knights, guess what?
Very similar.
Necrons, we index Grey Knights now, boys. Where it basically, if you're doing a 2,000 point game, you're going to be able to at the end of the opponent's fight phase, there you're going to be able to take 3 of your units, put them back into strategic reserves. So that there, I think this is a great benefit or boost for the Necrons, because you've got some units that have some pretty darn good shooting, and being able to take them and teleport them all around to the board and get some angles, it's really going to force your opponent to also kind of play more cagey, maybe help you control the board more. So this one I really like. I think it fits for the Necrons really well. There's not a ton of units that have deep strike, so that part there, I think that is going to limit the power of it somewhat, because, you know, something like a Doomsday Arc, as an example, if it goes into the strategic reserves, it's going to be limited to coming back in on the board edges. So that part there, some limitations, but still great overall. But Seth, what did you like from this detachment?
Well, so you said there was a limitation on deep strike. There is a way around that. That's the Osteoclave Fulcrum enhancement. That does give a unit deep strike, so there is a way around that. And then if you want more units going out of reserve in and out, if you want 4, you can use the Dimensional Overseer enhancement to get 1 more unit going into hyperphasing. So pretty strong. Now, the problem with this that I saw initially when I was reading the rules is if I'm off the table during the command phase, I don't reanimate. They have a stratagem to get around that, which is a stratagem to allow reanimation crypts, allows you to do reanimation protocols in reserve. So that allows for you to kind of continue to revive some of those units that are off the table. And importantly, it's all units that are in reserve get reanimation. And if you pull something off the table, it doesn't necessarily have to come in by turn 3. So if you're like, man, that unit took a hit, it needs to sit out for 2 or 3 turns to get some healing, and you just keep popping this stratagem over and over and over again, you can definitely heal up a lot of those units. And then if you're bringing them in, normally that 9-inch bubble can be quite hamstringing, but Cosmic Precision allows you to ignore the 9-inch rule and come in within 3 inches. So there's definitely a lot of utility here. I'm definitely interested to see. This is kind of the one that I get when I see this rule set and I see this army in the hands of a high skill player. I'm gonna get a little concerned because they're gonna be everywhere.
Yeah, there's not a lot of, there's actually very little in this detachment that boosts the Necron's damage capability. It's more about putting your units in the right places or removing your units from the places where your opponent wants them to be. So I think this is going to be one where it's going to be, this detachment is going to be a high ceiling but low floor style army, meaning those that play it or play it well are going to play it very well, but it's going to be difficult to replicate those results for your average, you know, tournament player or your narrative or casual player.
So there are a few new units and models you wanted to hit on before we send this one to bed.
So Imhotep the Stormlord in his new plastic fantastic model that I'm definitely picking up. If you used him in your list in 10th edition with the index, he is basically the same. He just gets +1 wound.
Solid.
That's it. So I guess he kind of gets Primarisized. That's really it. And then Orican the Diviner, he's also got a new model, and his change is at what units he can lead. He can only lead Immortals or Warriors. What we saw for the most part was him leading big blocks at 20 Warriors because he would give the unit a 4+ invulnerable save. So I expect that. I expect that to really stay the same, actually, but not really any other changes for him. But still, great model. I think a lot of folks are going to be picking that model up because he was being used in the list anyways. And then there's the new model, which is the Overlord with Translocation Shroud. He has the same stat line as an Overlord. This does include, and he includes some of the same abilities. The Overlord, My Will Be Done, which allows you to use a battle stratagem for 0 command points once per round, which is great. He does come with a Resurrection Orb following the new rules for it, and then his special or unique ability is a Translocation Shroud. This was previewed on Warhammer Community. When advancing, the unit automatically goes an additional 6 inches, and they can move through models and terrain when completing a normal move, advance, or fall back. So that extra mobility for Necrons, which are typically a slow army, I actually like that. Yeah,
definitely helps. No, never going to say no to mobility. So kind of final thoughts. What are you liking? What are you excited about? What do you want to do with all these new toys?
Yeah, so I'm excited. I am ecstatic to be playing Necrons here. I've been saying for a couple weeks or months that they were probably going to be the army that I was going to focus on from a hobby perspective, and probably run them as my army through Cherokee, which is run by this great organization, Frontline Gaming. I am probably going to be experimenting and playing with Necrons for the next few months. I think really you've got options with almost all of these detachments that are going to allow for some very different styles of play. So I'm really excited. The new models look great. There's 3 of them. 2 of them are just redone characters. But Seth, I like what I see here. I'm really excited to get this codex in my hands, and for everyone else to be bringing Necrons with the new codex onto the table as well.
Yeah, I'm excited. Definitely, I like Wraiths kind of getting a glow up. I have a lot of Wraiths, and I like the big, chunky, invulnerable models. So I'm excited to give them a try. But other than that, that's all we've got for tonight. Don't forget to check out our friends over at Tabletop Titans, Play on Tabletop, Grim After Dark, Vanguard Tactics. All those boys are going to have full in-depth reviews, so go check them out. If you want to pick up any of the new product or expand your Necron collection, don't forget to check out Frontline Gaming. The web cart is a great utility. Everything's already 15% off. If you want to use the code in the link in the description below to help us out here at the show, we would love it. Otherwise, tune in to us every night, every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time live to see Nicky D and I in the flesh on the web, joined with, of course, Kicker. But until next time, we really hope you enjoyed this Codex preview. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thanks, everybody.